All right. Thank you. If you're new here, this is my adoption series. Go back if you want to know the story for any of this to matter. You'll have to watch episode 1 and watch them in order. But here we are. So, to recap, was adopted at birth, found my birth mother, explained all of that through episodes. I believe we're on episode 6 now, and I've explained all of that. So now we are down to, I found my biological mother. I've had conversations with her. She's told me who my birth father was, my biological father. And this was in 1997-ish. So she has all along been telling me, your biological father is Robert Fry. Then I pulled up last episode, all of the Y DNA matches to this name Veazey, Beazey. And me getting frustrated because how can my father's name be Fry and me not matching any of it? Anywhere. In Ancestry DNA, in Y DNA, any of it. But I also got into Ancestry. Well, let's just look at it. Let's go to the screen. I want to share some screens with you, and because this is where it sort of breaks, where I found, oh wow, here it is. Here's the answer. I'm on the right track. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into this. I think this is where it starts to get, people start to get, questionable. What? Tell me this again. So, again, I don't, all I have is met and sat down with my biological mother. Well, we know that. She said, your dad is named Robert Fry. I've shown you my Y DNA matches, which is male to father to son, the Y DNA. Matches no Fry anywhere on the list. Anywhere. So I was frustrated. But it matches Veazey's, Veazey, right down the list. But then I go here, and I go by parent, and I select my paternal side, my father's side. And I get these matches. Look, 820 CMs. Just suffice it to say that, the higher the CM, the closer the match. So I've got this fairly close match. Grand aunt, half aunt, grand uncle, half uncle, first cousin, grand half uncle, whatever it is. So I see all these matches here, and what am I looking for? I'm looking for Veazey, right? I'm thinking, that's the Y DNA. I got a match of Veazey. Initially, I had the wrong side. I had thinking this was on my mother's side, on my grandmother's side. It's confusing. Remember, I've got my biological mother's DNA because some of her relatives have tested and that sort of stuff. So I've got all those matches. They're in here, but I know all that. I have my biological father's, the paternal side, DNA. Where does it come from? But my father, my biological father, has a grandmother and a grandfather. There's male and female. So, there are female sides to this. Maybe you all understand that, but God, it took me a little to wrap my head around this. So I'm thinking, okay, this all must be from, my grandfather's side. But I'll show you with AI what I did. Because here's a person I matched really close. This is a grand uncle or a half uncle, which we know probably a half uncle. Anyway, I matched the Bennett, the Hood, all of these people. Well, this person, and these people, they're all on this Bennett Walls side. They're all up in northern Texas, southern Oklahoma. They're all on that. They're in a cluster there. You'll see in a minute. Just bear with me. Tracy Curry. You have the option here to look at common matches. So I can select either one of these. If I select this person, what DNA do we share? And it's this one, this one, this one, this one. If I select this person, what DNA do we share? And it's this one, this one. All of this is a cluster right here. We share all the same stuff. And these people sit on a tree, on a family tree. Someone's built it out. Not even me, but we found it. We got lucky with one match. But if you come down here, this person here is the first person that if I select him, he shares no DNA with any of these. What does that tell me? One of my ancestors comes from this group of people, and one of my ancestors comes from a different group of people. He's the first person. He's really the one that broke it. Him, and I started hitting these Hispanic or Spanish surnames. Gonzalez, Martinez, Lozano. I want to find Newton Blair. This was another one that sort of broke it. We found him. Look at that tree. 71,372 people. So let's go to AI. Let's go to Claude Cowork where I was. Let me just pile this in there. I don't want to get this to get too long. But I want you to see the thought process that I went through to get to an ultimate answer. So bear with me just a second. So tell me again how you were able to establish that I was a VEAZEY ancestor. Let's see what it says. You can read it, but I'll read it. Your DNA test on family tree matched 5 men who all carry the Veazey surname. One of them, Robert Thomas Veazey, performed, we know all this, Y DNA from father to son for generations. So your direct paternal lines, your father, his father, father before him, is Veazey. That's not a guess, that's confirmed. Yes, but how with my ancestry matches were you able to determine that I came from a VEAZEY male? We have no one on my match list with that surname. Where did you find the breakthrough? Explain it. There's the Sean Foy that I was talking about. Your closest match on Ancestry is with Sean Foy at 303 centimorgans. When you look at his profile, his mother's maiden name is Veazey. His mother's Shirley Ann Veazey. Now remember, I know I just told you why DNA passes from father to son, father to son. If Sean Foy took a Y DNA test, he and I would not match at all. His mother's a Veazey. His father's someone else. So he gets his Y DNA from Foy, assuming there were never any kids raised as something with different blood. Right? He would be a Foy match. He would match all the Foys. I don't see him anywhere in Y DNA. And it says, but the real breakthrough came through a match named Newton Blair, just 58 centimorgans. So we didn't match that much. His DNA is linked back to a massive family tree, over 71,000 people, managed by a young lady who we're now friends, P-Town Diva, too. She's wonderful. She was really, her work is what broke this loose. When I searched through that tree, I found a couple that explained everything. Victor Alfred Veazey married Lola Melendez. A Veazey man married an Hispanic woman. Or Spanish woman. We don't know. I don't know that yet. Don't mean to be racial or negative or whatever. There's nothing there. Just don't know the proper terms for it. I'm sorry. That single couple is your entire puzzle. It explains why you have two completely different clusters of DNA matches, one with an Anglo-West Texas names like Hood, Walls, Bennett, and Davis, and the other with Hispanic names like Gonzalez, Lozano, and Galindo. Those aren't two separate mysteries. They're two sides of the same family, and Victor Veazey and Lola Melendez is where they meet. So, it basically found this tree with all these Veazey names. I've got it here. I don't want to break into too much privacy. But you see my matches. Let's just go back to the trees. Because all of this, you think, man, you are going way down a fishing hole, a rabbit hole, to find a Robert Fry. You still hadn't told me where he comes in, does he? You'll have to watch to the end. But you go down these rabbit holes, but still, you come back, and I've since built this tree myself. I placed people. Here I am. I'm not going to show you all of that. Anyway, I placed myself there. Let's go back. We know that. I don't want to get getting too long. Let's do one more thing. We know now how we found this link to Veazey, my Y-DNA matching Veazey, my match to all these Bennetts and Walls. Let's stop right here. The next episode we will do how I know where I fit in these, because I've got two separate clusters, remember? I hate that word, cluster. Anyway, I've got two separate clusters. I've got a cluster over here that are not related to this cluster. So now if I've got DNA in this cluster of people and DNA in this cluster of people, but none of these two share any common DNA, I got it. A descendant out of here and a descendant out of here, and that's where I come down. Does that make sense? A cluster here, a cluster here. I share with all of them. I share with all of them. Neither one of them share together. None. So now I've got either the man my ancestor came from. Well, I knew the man had to come from. The male had to come from Veazey, right? Y-DNA. Passes from father to son, to father to son, to father to son. The man has to come out of this cluster, which we now determined was Veazey, which now fits with my family tree DNA, that whole Y-DNA. Boom. That's the male. The male came out of that family. That's proven. Now, could have been a bracket. Then I would have said, pooh, I'm a bracket because I matched that bracket person. But you'll see why later. That, because some people would say, oh, you could have just, what if you would have found a bracket? Just coincidentally, and you piece yourself all into this. You'll see later why that's impossible. You'll see. So boom, now I've got ChatGPT, Claude, Cowork, telling me. Let's get into that in a minute. So we figured out the Veazey connection to my DNA, Sean Foy and Newton Blair. Those two people connect me back to the Veazey males. We've got all these other close matches, first cousin, half uncle, half aunt, and all that stuff, all over here on this other tree. Now we're going to determine who the grandparents are. Because when you work your way back, you see that it can't be my father from there. It could, but we'll see why it wasn't next time. Thank you for watching.